Hey there, welcome back to Lightroom Quickstart Bootcamp. This video is going to have us taking a look at the Navigator, the catalog, and the folders here in the left-hand panel of the library module. So let's get started. All right, the Navigator is kind of a nice little tool. It's nice to have because what it shows you is just a little bit about where you are in the image, no matter what you're doing to the image. For instance, here on this particular image, which I should mention is unedited, by the way, so I've not gone through and tweaked anything in the develop settings or anything like that. We're just seeing straight out of camera. If I zoom in by clicking the mouse button, you can see I've got a little rectangle that shows us where we're at in the image. And I can drag around, either dragging or I can click, and I can then have it, of course, zoom in right where we're at here in the details of that photograph. When I click back here in the image, of course, it zooms me back out. And then we have this other item here where it's saying fit. And notice it goes to 100% when I click in, right? But here, when it says fit, I can either have fit or I can choose fill. And really the only difference is when we're zoomed out, what is it going to do? As far as this image viewport that we have here, will it fill it or will it force it to fit? So when I tell it to fill, you can see it just zooms in, what is that, maybe 5% or so, because it just filled in the width and we have just a little bit to scroll up and down to see the images, the part of the image that is being cropped out. I usually like to just do fit myself. And then we also have this item here that says 100. Okay, so that is, let's just get back to the regular part of the image here. That is a standard view, where a standard zoom, where we're seeing pixel for pixel on whatever resolution monitor you have, you're seeing pixel for pixel view, and that's a nice thing for judging sharpness and whatever else you got. Right now, what I'm looking at is a 1920 by 1080 tall screen. That's all I have right now for what we're looking at, and so it's going to take whatever resolution camera I have and fit those pixel for pixel on this screen. If I had a massive resolution camera, then I would feel like I'm just totally zoomed in. If I had a less resolution camera, then I wouldn't feel so zoomed in. I just don't have as many pixels. That's the only reason why that we would have a difference there. Now we do have this other option here where we have this drop down, or this extendable item. We could go all the way out to 6%. So this again is based on a resolution, on a pixel for pixel resolution. We could go all the way into 800, 1600%. We are seeing really blockiness, almost looks like JPEG artifacting, because we are zooming in so far. Each pixel in the image is now several pixels, 8 pixels that is, should be, yeah, it's showing up as 8 pixels wide and 8 pixels tall. So 64 pixels total for every single pixel in the image. Wow, that is just really zooming in. I almost never find a reason for why I would need to do that. Now, sometimes I will do 200, maybe even 400%. When I'm looking at certain sharpening settings, or I'm looking at other items like chromatic aberration and trying to fine tune and finesse certain things, making it larger than life can help you in doing that. And if I were to be on, let's say, a 5K screen, I could see making it larger than life also being helpful, because it's such a high resolution screen. Sometimes you just want to see that extra detail, and you just need to say, okay, really give it to me. Let me see everything that is there on a pixel for pixel basis. Show it to me as if it were 4 pixels now on my physical screen. That's what 200% is doing. Taking 2 pixels wide, 2 pixels tall. That's a total of 4 pixels for every pixel in the image. All right, and then when you toggle, again, I'm then going to go back between fit and 200%, and then I just have to kind of click this 100 again here, and now it is by default only going to toggle between fitting on screen and 100%. All right, the next item one more item we can look at. I almost forgot. Notice how too, when I'm down here in the film strip and then I hit G, and I can be also here on the grid, we don't have an opportunity here in the grid for it to change the view in the Navigator, but if I'm in the film strip, then it will change the view in the Navigator of that image that I'm hovering over. And if you wanted to change that, we go up here to Lightroom Classic, Preferences, we go to the Interface tab, and then it's that one right there, Show Photos in Navigator on, mouse over. And notice how here it says Film Strip. So we have that you can turn on. If you don't like it, you can turn it off then. I almost always have my Navigator showing. Only when I need to really see a lot of information in my folders or in my collections would I close the Navigator, because then I just need to say, hey, let me have some collections. Let me see what all these are about. Let me see what all my folders are about. And I just have a little more real estate on screen to take a look at those items. Okay, let's look at this next item, catalog. This may be a little bit, I don't know, sometimes it feels a little weird. It's just a quick snapshot of some of the data that's in your catalog. So here we have, say, all photographs that are imported into the catalog. All right, 48,133. All right, I don't know that detail really means much to me, but at least I know, okay, I got 48,133 images that I have at this time, I have kept around. I know I still have a lot that I need to delete, but of those that I've edited, those are certainly edited as in choosing which to keep, which to delete. Certainly those are in there. And that's where when I'm in the folders and I look at my photos here versus initial imports, I can see I've got 27,266 right there in my photos folder. Those are my keepers, as it were. And even still, some in there probably need to be deleted still anyway, but whatever. We can see I've got 5,800 in my family photos, and then my initial imports, 7,356. So when I look at the next item here in the catalog, it says all synced photographs. These are going to be synced with the online system, Adobe's online system. So I've got 48 images that are still kind of sort of connected in that fashion. And I have yet to just totally, I guess, clear that out or something. I'm not sure what it is. I pretty much haven't touched my synced images in forever, so it's just not something that I'm personally concerned about. If you are trying to connect Lightroom Classic with Lightroom CC, then this would probably be something that you really want to dig deep into and really come to a solution. You sync images through your collections, and so you can create a collection. You can say, hey, sync these to the cloud, and then those will appear in your catalog there for Lightroom CC. Your quick collection, now this is kind of fun because what you can do, you can have this item that's known as a quick collection. Now I could be able to just drag this image in here, let's say, and now that's added to my quick collection. That is separate from my standard collections, which we'll get into in the next video. But with my quick collection, that's just something where I can say, hey, I want to be able to make a quick collection. I want to just at random, just throw stuff in there. And so you can quickly do that. And then you click on this and it will show you those 10 images in this case that are in that quick collection. And then certainly we go back here to say maybe initial imports or what have you, and wherever we were, and we can get back to where we were. Our previous import, this is where we can say, okay, of all the images that I have in my catalog, which were the ones that I just most recently brought in? It doesn't matter where it saved them to. Doesn't matter what folder structure they may have been in. Doesn't matter where across different drives or anything like that. What are those images? I click on this and these are the last images that I've imported. You can see I've got a lot of rejects here that need to be tossed, and that's fine. But as far as just saying, what did I do last? Well, here you have a nice quick idea. This is an automated collection of sorts where it's just going to show you, okay, these are the ones that you most recently brought in. Now, previous export as catalog. Now, this is kind of interesting because this is a setting that I almost never use myself. Everything is here within my master catalog, whatever you want to call it. And so this particular shot, these shots here are probably a little bit strange to you in thinking, Brent, you are a nature travel photographer, outdoor photographer. What's with the studio setting? And so this is actually from the university, a lighting assignment for my students and a sample that I was giving in class. The challenge is to control these specular highlights. And so when we get to something like this, we're almost got it. See a little bit more there. Got a little bit more to do in controlling the light and getting those things coming through appropriately. And then we experimented with some ink and whatever else in the water, and we had fun with it. But apparently I had a reason to export that as a catalog. You can take a certain collection of images and you can say, okay, I want to ship this off to somebody. It will package up a custom catalog with the images, and you can send that out into the world. And whether you email it, you FTP it to somebody, whatever the case is, you can package it up and save it out, just send it across the network, maybe put it on another hard drive and hand it off to somebody. Whatever it is, all those images go together. They're still here in my catalog, certainly. It's just you're packaging them up to send them out to someone else for further processing. All right, now let's take a look at folders and what we're dealing with there. All right, so we have in Lightroom, as we took a look in the first chapter where we're setting up, we're importing, we're getting our folder structure set up, we know that Lightroom will only show folders for what it's been told to manage. And so right now I've got these three folders that are directly on the Photos MK6 hard drive. And I've got these three folders that are there. And we've seen before, if I were to go and bring up my item here for this Photos MK6, you can see I've got tons of different folders here. But as far as Lightroom is concerned, most of those don't exist. It just doesn't care about them. And so that means that Lightroom, it only will say, look, you've asked me to manage these folders, and I will only manage these folders, and even still, only the content inside these folders that you've asked me to manage. Those are the only things it's going to show. And I like that thing about Lightroom, where you do have the ability to say, get rid of all the extra stuff. I don't want to see it. It's not important. It's that my photos are important, and that's the only thing I want you to think about here when we're looking at these folders. But that can also mean you can get yourself into trouble, because if I were to go into this photos folder and I were to go into any of these items and I were to start messing with any of these pictures, so here's my raws, and I were to start messing with any of these pictures and doing something outside of Lightroom, all of a sudden Lightroom is going to be like, hey, you did something and I don't know what you did. What do you want to do? Do you want to go with what I know, or do you want me to import the settings from what the image is now saying it has different settings and all sorts of things? You can mess yourself up that way. Or if you were to just come in and drag in more photos into one of these folders and you didn't tell Lightroom that you did it, well, Lightroom simply isn't going to manage those photos at all. You need to tell Lightroom, please manage these photos. And you would do that. For instance, let's pick on Florida for a little bit. USFL 2017, if I were to dump more Florida images in there for any reason, and I were to do it manually outside of Lightroom, again, Lightroom won't know a thing about it. It's just going to be like, it just doesn't exist. So what we need to do here is we go to Photos, we go to Eastern, we go to Florida, we go to 2017, and we would right-click on this, and then we would hit Synchronize Folder. And when we hit that Synchronize Folder button, that's when it'll say, oh, now you want me to take a look at everything in the folder, and so long as it's a file type that I can recognize, I'm going to do it. So like if you had, some database file in there or some other silly stuff going on in there, it's just going to ignore it. But if you had a JPEG or a PNG or any other type of image file that it can recognize, then it's going to go ahead and recognize it. It'll bring it in, it'll add it to your catalog. All right, there's just a few more things I want to look at here in what we're dealing with in the folders panel, and that is this plus symbol. We can click this item and we have a few other options. We can do add subfolder. So basically that's going to add a folder here to the photos. Let's go ahead and just do that. And we can say video sample subfolder, include selected photos. No, I don't want to move any photos, but you can see how easily that could be. You're like, hey, I've got a selection of photos here. I want to put them in their own folder. There you go. Hit that button and it will move them to that folder. So let's go ahead and hit create here, and we'll then look for video sample subfolder. All right, when I expand this, it should be there at the bottom. There it is, video sample subfolder. All right, now what about the other one here? I can hit add folder. All right, so it brings up the standard dialog box for adding a regular folder. And then what I'm going to be doing here is I could take any folder, for instance, this Minnesota 2021, a workshop that I'm working on doing here this fall, fall of 2021 in Minnesota. And we're going to shoot waterfalls and all sorts of fall color and things like that. But I could add that specific folder to my Lightroom library here if for some reason I wanted to, or I could navigate to any other folder, hit the new folder item here, and then that will add for us. I don't really want to do that because I just don't. It's not part of my working structure. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that part alone. The next item down here is how do we show it? Do we only show the folder name or do we do path from volume? So let's go ahead and see what that shows us, what that offers for us here. Probably not much difference because this is the volume itself already. And so I don't have any folders that are buried subfolders. These are right there in, as we saw here already. Photos is directly on that hard drive. That's what I mean. It's part of the root folder system. And so if I had only recognized these folders and not the photos folder, that's where it would then, this setting would then say, oh, here's your photos folder. And then folder and path. Let's take a look at that. So we can see, okay, if I were to expand this, do we have anything different here? No, and that's why I don't have these going on, because I just don't see that really making much sense as to where it's showing me where these photos are extra located or whatever. No, I just do folder name only. And the final item is whether or not we're going to show photos in subfolders. I do like doing this because when I turn it off, you can see all of a sudden, boom, here in photos, there's 0 pictures. There's, okay, 11 pictures in this one, but 0 pictures here. I like to be able to drill down and to get a little more nuanced into what my pictures are. And so that's where I do like to show photos in subfolders. So that takes care of our quick look at what we're dealing with the Navigator and the catalog and the folders items here in the library module. We're going to continue in the next video taking a look at the collections and published services and maybe a couple of the tidbits that we can get ourselves in trouble with. All right, we'll see you there. Until then, happy shooting.